to live. You had no father, you had the armor. You got a daughter, gotta get softer. Kill Jay-Z. They'll never love you, you'll never be enough. Let's just keep it real, Jay-Z. Fuck Jay-Z. I mean, you shot your own brother. How could we know if we can trust Jay-Z?
Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning into Spreeisms, my vlog all about mental health and finding ways to protect your peace. I'm Kirsten Spreewell, your resident therapist, and today I want to talk about something that's been kind of like my whole theme of 2017, self-reflection. At the beginning of the year, I turned 25, and anybody who's turned 25 like knows it's a milestone year. It's like you had a whole bucket list of things that you wanted to do by 25, or things you wanted to be, or how you wanted to move, dress, or whatever that is by 25, and what your idea of 25 looks like. So that's what I've been going through. Like a little before 25, and then what I've been going through like this whole year since then. And then 444 drops, and the first song on the album is Kill Jay-Z, and I swear I listened to that song like 30 times before I listened to the rest of the album, because it was like my gospel. It was like I could relate to the whole theme of checking yourself and compare and contrasting like who you were and who you are now, or who you want to be. So with no further ado, let's just get into it. So what is self-reflection? I don't know, but my definition of self-reflection is the process of objectively assessing yourself, your interpersonal relationships, like how you vibe with people, how your professional relationships, and also comparing and contrasting, like I said, who you were with who you are now, and even putting that next to who you want to be. So my whole process is I sometimes write it out, like how am I interacting with people, and how do I affect people when I walk in a room right now, and is that aligned with who I want to be, how I want to affect people, how I want people to look at me, or how I want my relationships to be. So whatever that looks like, that process, it must be objective. You must remove yourself from yourself and look at it objectively, rather than with a feeling, a vibe, or a bias. And it's really a skill. I think self-reflection is one of the most creative and introspective forms of art that there is. And I'll tell you why. It's like you have to be able to look at it's like your development as a person. And it has to be really intricate, and I think that self-reflection is one of the most integral parts of self-development. I think the most important part of self-development, because in order to implement change in your life and implement change in your relationships, you have to be able to objectively assess and critique and criticize even sometimes what's going on. I think that's where we start in becoming who we are supposed to be, is by self-reflecting. And it's the first step, but it's also a step that's ongoing, that you should always be checking in with yourself to see, is this who I want to be? Is this what I stand for? Is this my brand? This behavior, is it on brand? Is it brand consistent with like who I am as a person? So that's just like what I've been doing. I've really had to check myself and think about who I am right now, and if it's consistent with the person that I want to be. So in this artistic process of creating the masterpiece that is ourselves, and reflecting on who we've been, I think one of the first questions that we can ask ourselves is, what do I need to do? Do I need to recreate? Do I need to rebuild? Or do I need to revert back to some of the old things that I used to do? Have I changed? Have I become so far from the person that is really myself that I need to get back to that person to be who I truly am? Or do I need to just kill off everything? Like Jay-Z said, kill Jay-Z. For me, do I need to kill off like who I am and just redevelop completely? In this whole process that I've been going through for the past like 6, 7, 8 months, I've had to kill off some aspects of myself. Even relationships or things or people or habits that you think have become you or have become a big part of your life, distancing yourself from those things in order to get closer to who you are truly supposed to be, or even not even to get closer to who you're supposed to be, but just to allow yourself to reflect the maturity that takes. I think even in the Rap Radar interview that Jay-Z did with Elliott Wilson and B. Dot, they talked about he talked about just like the maturation process and like the whole growing up that it takes. And even with me turning 25, like I could really appreciate and relate to that process of, okay, this is what it takes to be grown. Like you have to make tough decisions and you have to ask yourself hard questions and you have to be grown enough to answer those questions honestly. And when you have become so connected to something, it's really a big step to disconnect in order to find the solace that it takes to reflect and to look in the mirror and say, I need to kill this old person in order to become the person that I am supposed to be. I think that's huge. I think that is one of the biggest parts of self-reflection, the decision to kill off. And also not letting society or letting the people around you be completely a part of that process. Like for me, I have gotten, people have put bugs in my ear about different things that I do or how I behave toward other people, and we can use that, take everything with a grain of salt. But also when you are in your self-reflection process, it's about, just like in the song, Jay-Z is talking to himself, like Sean Carter is talking to Jay-Z, or vice versa, like killing off Jay-Z to become his true self. And I think that is the biggest process of, let me talk to myself about these things and not let other people completely influence or guide who I am supposed to be, because really none of that matters. And when you look at yourself, he talks about like being trustworthy, like how could we know we could trust you? Or even the line where he's talking about, I know people backstabbed you, I felt bad too. Like whatever has happened, you are still responsible for who you are. I tell my clients this all the time. At the end of the day, we can't control what happens to us. We can only control how we respond to it. And we can only control if we let that thing become a part of who we are rather than just something that happened. For me, that was big because I was taking so many things that have happened in my past or things that were happening currently and like, oh, it's time to be savage, but that's not consistent with who I want to be. So in order to get closer to who I want to be, I have to kill off that persona and be who I really am. So I think, I was just really so inspired by the song. I was already having this conversation with myself, and then the song inspired a continuance of this conversation with myself and with my friends around me. And then also when they dropped the Rap Radar interview, I was really interested in continuing the conversation on Spreeisms with you all. So I want to see what are some things that you felt like you had to call off or you had to kill in order to get closer to the person that you are. I'm not trying to preach, I'm trying to make it a conversation, and that's one of the things that Jay said in the Rap Radar interview, was making it a conversation, starting the conversation. And so for me, I just wanted to continue the conversation. So what are some things that you guys needed to kill off in order to get closer to the things or the person that you want to be? Leave that down in the comments. Also, what is the first step that you feel like you have to take in order to recreate or to develop the person that you are? What is your process of self-reflecting? Just some questions I want to know. I want to open up the platform. Leave comments below, and what is your response? Do y'all like the album? Like, do you like this song? Were you inspired? How can you relate? Like, just leave comments down below and let me know. Now, until next time, I hope you guys find your version of success, happiness, and peace.